We are our own best friends. I consider myself my biggest hype man. Like, I have to pump myself up. It's our responsibility to pump ourselves up, to support ourselves, and to be confident in ourselves. We cannot rely and give this power to other people.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Lara Jane, and I am here with an author, and her name is Aya, and her book is called Getting Lost in the Sauce. And I am so excited to hear about this book because it sounds like the awesome sauceness. How can I be special? So let's see if that's what it's all about. Aya, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your book. And I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Lara Jane, for having me here. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in. So I just recently published my very first book called Getting Lost in the Sauce. It is based on a true story of my life in terms of, sure, you may relate. We may have all settled into our mediocre lifestyle, and at what point we may have questioned whether our reality really is something that we wanted to continue living. And so getting lost in the sauce is really just like, I don't want to call it a step-by-step guide, but it's an introduction to allowing yourself to get lost in your intuition and getting lost in tapping into your intuitive feeling and allowing yourself to just go with that impulse that you get, that desire that you get in that moment, that you actually get it. Because oftentimes when I allowed myself to get lost in the sauce, I found the better version of myself at the end. So that's what getting lost in the sauce is. It's just the recipe for finding yourself, the better version of yourself, the self that you didn't even know you could be, but always desired and were curious about.
Oh, I love it. I'm wondering now, when I get intuition, sometimes I doubt it. Do you have a secret on how to trust our intuition?
Yes, that's a great question, because that was me before I allowed myself to get lost in the sauce. So once I built that muscle, and I think it has a lot to do with practice, right? Like once you get that intuition, I'm like, this is what I want to do, or maybe this is how I'm feeling. Like it's a positive energy or a positive thought or a negative thought. Instead of doubting that intuition, that intuitive feeling, removing that doubt altogether, removing that fear altogether, and just going for it with the curiosity mindset, like just going for it. It's almost like you're about to jump into this like cold water and it's going to freak you out. But like your mind is like freaking out, like, oh my God, it's going to be cold. I'm going to be in shock. And you're creating all these crazy stories for yourself. Why don't you just shut your mind for a moment, because it is only a moment, unless you allow it to be more than a couple of moments, and just jump and experience that moment of just like jumping into the cold water and seeing how it feels. And you might be surprised, because that experience in itself is what's going to be the most exhilarating and delicious experience of your life at that moment. Does that answer your question?
Yes, just do it. Because you're not going to know whether it's going to work or not until after you've taken the plunge.
Yes. And it's going to take practice to just remove that doubt, remove that negative self-talk. But the more you do it, the more you experience those delicious moments, the more it's going to get addicting, and the more you're going to want to do more of that. So it's really just like building a muscle of being more fearless, removing that doubt and just going for it.
I love it. Yeah, I definitely want to read this book. Do you also have an audiobook?
I am working on the audiobook. It is on ebook format as well as paperback version, and you can find that on Amazon.
And in the link in our show notes.
Yes. So we're working on the audio version, coming soon.
My avatar is a very busy person, and so we take advantage of our commute by listening to stuff. So
duly noted. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I did for 30 years, commuting to and from the office, is listen to audiobooks and just engage in that. And I think it's the great way to learn while you're just commuting. I want to say wasting time, but it's not a waste of time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So I actually, in my previous life, as I like to call it, before I got lost in the sauce, I used to also work in corporate, and I was in higher education selling textbooks and homework solutions. And in my corporate job, what I learned was people are not just like a one size fits all when it comes to learning. We're all learning from different ways, right? Like some people like to read books. That's how they retain information. Some people actually like to write things down. That's how they retain information. And some are audible learners. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I have to have them both. I hear it on the way, and then I come home and underline it in the actual book.
Yes. Yep.
Like, this is what I wanted, because it kind of gives you that dual entry. It's like when you write something down, you remember it better than if you just say. So I like as many ways to remember things as possible.
Repetition is the way to go. Yeah.
So what got you to wanting to write this book, or what experience? I'm sure it was your intuition, but what experiences brought you to this point?
That's a great question. I really just wanted to share my story. I think it was just so much that was happening. I'd say about 5 years ago, there was a time when I felt like my life did not have any purpose. My avatar, like you mentioned, felt like it was taking up so much space on Earth. I was just actually questioning whether I wanted to be here or not. And at that point, the moment that I asked that question of whether or not I wanted to live, it was almost like that rebirth moment for me of like, okay, let's assume you died and you came back to Earth again. This is your second chance to live your best life. What does it look like right now? Go do that thing. And once I had that reality check, I really focused back to bringing my energy back, because I was depressed at that point. I feel like you have to be in a very negative, dark space to even question your existence. And so I was in a very dark space at that time, a few years ago. So once I made that leap of faith of like, okay, this is my second chance at life. Let's get my energy back up. I don't know what that looks like. So I started to focus on my health, made the conscious decision to leave my husband. So ended up getting a divorce, focused on my health. I was over 200 pounds. I was overweight. So I started to focus on my weight, and within a year or two, managed to lose almost 100 pounds. And throughout my relationship with my husband at the time, we were together for 13 years. I've always had this desire of acting and modeling, but my self-esteem was so low, I didn't even think that was attainable. And so after that promise, lost that weight, started following my passion for acting, signed up for acting classes, became a full-time actor, became a model. And I was just like, okay, well, great. Now that I have picked up this momentum, what else do I want to do? Now I had this like hunger, that desire of like, I'm going to check everything off my list that I've always wanted to do, but always felt like I wasn't good enough, experienced enough. And so for me, I always wanted to be a business coach, became a business coach. I wanted to be a marketing consultant, became a marketing consultant. Then I became a screenwriter, and then I became a writer. And I'm like, okay, well, now I want to be a published author. And boom, then this book just came out of me. And all because I just really allowed myself to follow that intuition. And of course, that journey, even though I would say this journey has been about like 4 or 5 years of coming to fruition. And there were a lot of times of that self-doubt that kept creeping in. And I had to work on it like a muscle of just like removing that negative thought and just leap of faith, jumping into this cold water, just following that desire, following that intuition. And it led me here of publishing my book and just getting everything I always wanted, bringing it to fruition.
That's so awesome. I love the live your life as if you just resurrected. Like, I died and I have a second chance today. Because you hear it all the time, like every day is a new opportunity.
Yeah.
But I never really thought of it as live your dream life. Live how you really wanted to live, not how we feel like we have to. So I love that. Definitely something that I can take advantage of. And as you were starting to live your dream life or your new reality, did just everything seem to start falling into place as you started to follow your intuition? Or I know I still struggle at times, but it's because of my own self-doubt. I was like, nobody's going to want to listen to you. So like, I'm so excited to read your story. And I know you already said you need to just keep doing it. But I have that bully voice in my head that keeps telling me, you're just never going to make anything out of your life.
Mm.
So how did you silence that part of that held you back?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I didn't. I ended up actually inviting that negative self-talk, and I created space for it in my mind. A lot of times we spend so much time alone. If you want to bring it to your physical reality, go for it, right? Like you're sitting in your room, office, whatever space, bring it to reality. Like, okay, I've noticed, especially recently, like I'll have some negative self-talk here and there while I'm doing things, multitasking. The moment that negative thought is there while I'm multitasking, I stop what I'm doing and I really do sit down, close your eyes, however you want to do it, like put yourself in a meditative position if that's the case for you, whatever feels comfortable for your physical body, right? Just sit down, close your eyes, or just however you want to do this, and just really listen to that voice. Invite it to that physical space, or even in your mind. Create that space for that negative self-talk. And really observe where it's coming from in terms of what does that physical negative self-talk look like? Is this someone from your past? Is this your parent? Is this like your sibling? Is this like, because a lot of these negative self-talks, they're almost like programmed from the past experience that we've had with those certain people. And so if you can just really sit down with that for a moment and listen to it, maybe even take out a notebook at that moment or a recorder. Like I've been very big on recording myself sometimes, whatever feels comfortable. And just like listen and observe and like build this character for yourself. Like, okay, this negative person or this negative entity is saying this, and this. And look at it. Like for me, I also, and I mentioned this in the book too, is like bring those thoughts into paper so that you create this negative self-talk into this reality, into this life, give it a physical space and really see, do you truly believe what these negative thoughts or negative words that are on a piece of paper, do they really describe who you are? Because really, if they're being really honest with ourselves, like that's not the case. And perhaps maybe on the other side, you can start writing all the things that justify why these negative thoughts, these negative words that keep popping up, why they are not valid. And these positive things could be all the experiences and the accomplishments that you've completed and you've actually accomplished in the past as well. So when you bring those and you focus on those positive experiences that you've actually have had versus those negative thoughts, the negative doubts, those negative doubts and those negative thoughts no longer have any value or they don't even have any control over you anymore. And then you start to build this courage within yourself. You're like, what is this negative thing? Like, just throw it away. And then just, again, it's that practice of disengaging from these negative thoughts. So like, that's what I usually do. Well, I used to do that in the past. That's how I compared. So now I just like, where's this coming from? Who is this that's talking to me? Go away.
I love that. I love that. Where's this coming from? That's amazing because that's really what past trauma am I replaying in my mind? Because this is irrational for right now.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like to say is become your own best friend. Really, who is it that's going to stand up for you? And as you're telling your story, I was thinking about if my best friend was having a bad day, I wouldn't go, you're being weird, you're being silly, or I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm sure that hurts. Let's talk about it. Let's experience it. Let's work through it till you feel better and understand where it's coming from. So, in all of the things you're saying, it's like, oh, if I was my own best friend, I would sit with it. I would acknowledge it. I would allow it and then let it go because I would change it or help them understand a different way of looking at the pain or whatever it was that they were experiencing. And that's what I do in my brain. I like, okay, I'm not going to be self-limiting in the words I choose to tell myself. So I'm not stupid. I have the ability. I'm intelligent. I can learn. That thought comes through my head of, oh, you're so stupid. No, I just haven't learned that yet. So it's okay.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. You're right. We are our own best friends. I consider myself my biggest hype man. Like I have to pump myself up. It's our responsibility to pump ourselves up. It's our responsibility to support ourselves. It's our responsibility to be confident in ourselves. We cannot rely and give this power to other people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So how can you bring that self-confidence? And I don't say this, but I definitely love stepping into our own power, focusing on our courage, and really walking into our confidence. Like that's sexy. Confidence is an energy. It has nothing to do with your physicality. You can be the skinniest person on earth and you can still have low confidence. Confidence is energy. How can you step into that energetic field of confidence and just step into your sexiness, your divine power within yourself, and bring it to the outside world so that people can feel it?
Oh, I am so with you.
How do you do that? Yeah.
People say fake it till you make it, but I don't think you have to fake it. I mean, sure, sometimes we have to squash things down, but I love that you're experiencing it and growing from it instead of just throwing it out.
Yes. So I can answer my own question. It's allowing yourself to get lost in that sauce. Like, again, I'm not trying to advertise my book, but it's just allow yourself to get lost in the sauce. Like, okay, I want to be more confident. What does that look like? Well, let me step into it. Play, go and feel confident right now. You can do that and allow yourself to get lost in that and just play with it. See how you like it. Do you love how it feels? Feel how it feels. Like wear it, enjoy it. So there's just so many ways you can just play with life and play with the energy. And yeah, I'm just having so much fun doing that.
It is energy and it is amazing. And when you have that positive, I love myself just the way I am, you're not pushed around by other people. You aren't influenced by, oh, someone wants me to be just like so-and-so. It's that freeing amount that it's okay that I may not be perfect to you. I have flaws to you, but I like me. I like who I am. And once you can feel that, it doesn't matter if you're skinny or fat, tall or short. It just matters what you feel in your inside of yourself.
Yes. Once you start feeling so confident in yourself, like you like yourself, you love yourself, you actually start to attract that as well. You start to attract people who actually see that in you. The more I just allowed myself to step into my own confidence and just enjoy my life, because why not? Like, I love me. I love the craziness about me. My crazy is beautiful is what I say. I'm like, if you think I'm crazy, you should check yourself. Like, but then people, like, they just see and they're like, my God, like, you just enjoy life. And I'm like, yeah, we only have one life to live. Like, make it the best thing that you can make out of it. Take advantage. What else are we here to do? Like, doubt ourselves? No way, man. I'm not about that life, is what I say now. I don't subscribe to that lifestyle anymore. No.
Oh, I love that you've been able to do that, because so many people still struggle with just Esther Hicks or the Abraham tape. They call it the art of allowing. And you think about it, and I've really practiced allowing other people to be who they are. But it's important to allow ourselves also, and to allow that space to be okay being sad today or okay being run down. We have our ups and we have our downs. And sometimes I call it the garden needs the rain and the sunshine to really grow strong. And the trees are stronger because they have the wind, then they have to put down more roots. These things that challenge us add strength.
Yes.
So it's like embrace it, because you don't want to be weak. If we had no opposition, we would be the weakest, most boring people in the world.
Yeah.
Can you imagine someone who never had to go through any challenges?
They would definitely not be positioned well in life. Yeah.
You'd be coddled like a lily versus a daisy. Some you have to take really careful, and others you just throw the seeds out and they grow like crazy.
Yep. Yeah, your story is what makes you beautiful, right? And sometimes I do act like I'm like this amazingly joyful person 24/7. And no, like I also have my ebbs and flows. And when I am feeling down, it's actually I'm thinking of that experience in my life as more of like a recharging period of my life of this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little bit on the lower vibration, as Abraham Hicks says, and I'm okay with that. But allowing myself to just feel low and feeling sad and feeling down and not really judging that either. Of like, why are you so down? Why aren't you being so active? Why aren't you working? Why aren't you da-da-da-da-da? And when those thoughts come through and they're like, why aren't you doing this? You're not enough. That's a lot of the thoughts that come in sometimes when I'm feeling down. I also have to work through that and say, it's okay for me to slow down. It's okay for me to feel this way. It's okay. This is my charging time. I'm allowed to take it easy.
Yes. It reminds me of the Stephen Covey Sharpen Your Saw. It's like we're so programmed that we have to be busy, 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 and we have to be happy, 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 happy. But sometimes really you need to sit down and sharpen your saw so that you're able to be more productive afterwards.
Yes. That took me a while to get there, but yes, Laura Jane, I agree with you 100%.
I would say the first book I ever read that just went, wow, was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where I kept rereading it. And like, I got to learn all these little pieces. I need to learn about this emotional bank account, and I need to learn how to start with the end in mind and all these things. And it was so powerful. And then, of course, there's been millions of other books since then that I have read and embraced. And Esther Hicks and Abraham has been one of my favorite. One night, driving home from work, and I'm listening to the Abraham tapes, and he had a thing that said, you cannot expect anybody else to love you if you don't love yourself. And I'm like, I don't love myself. Why do I think like I didn't like being heavy? Why do I think other people should accept me for being heavy if I didn't like it? And it's just like this aha moment of, when do you like yourself? And that's one of the reasons I've always said I will not do weight loss coaching as a coach. I will do self-love. Because if you hate yourself fat, you're going to hate yourself thin. You got to love yourself, and then you're going to love it either way. So let's first work on your self-love and then the rest.
That's beautiful. I love what you said about, I can't even quote you. I can't even summarize it. It was so good. If you hate yourself when you're, how did you say it?
If you hate yourself when you're fat, you're not going to like yourself when you're thin. Your size, your body does not change your brain. Our brain is the one that doesn't like us. Our brain is the one that plays these stupid tapes over and over in our head. Like one kid on the playground said, oh, you're ugly, or oh, you're short, or whatever. And guess what? They said it one time and we play it for 30, 40, 50 years, however old you are. So it's like, how do we get that out of our head and then take care of ourselves? And when I say out of our head, I know that a lot of people have a problem with the silencing, because we do really, I don't want to get it out. I want to reground it. I want to ground it to something positive, something that's going to help me and help me grow. And so that's why I think I want to read your book so bad. I'm going to go on Amazon right after this and buy it.
Thank you. But I just have to say something that was just brilliant. I'm going to have to sit with what you said, but I wanted to share my experience in what you said. And that, when I began my journey, I did lose 100 pounds, and I did reach, like, at one point I was a size 16, then I reached the size 4. I just was never happy. One, because I just couldn't believe that it was me, that I lost so much weight. And I admired when I would see myself in the mirror, like, wow, this gorgeous person, like, I can't believe that's me. But once the mirror was gone, I'm still thinking I'm a size 16 in my head. And I still had a lot of these, like, negative self-talk, negative self-love. Like, I still felt fat. I still felt uncomfortable and not confident in my body. So I had to actually get away from that reality. Like, I ended up taking a break from modeling and acting and pursuing more writing, because I just did not want to associate my physical body with work for a couple of years. I needed to figure that part out, that mental part. Like, how can I love myself no matter the size I am? And so right now, like, I'm, I think, size 6 or 8, And I'm just loving it. Like I'm learning to love my body every single day, no matter what size I am. And through that love, I genuinely do believe once you actually love your body and accept it for who you are right now, does that weight loss journey begin? Because now you're really consciously aware what you're putting to your body, what you're feeding your body. So I've been really trying to tune into that more of that self-love, physical self-love, and just appreciating where I'm at right now.
There's a weight loss book out there called, it's Marianne Williamson, A Course in Weight Loss.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're familiar with her Course in Miracles, but it's very spiritual, ground-based. And I don't want anybody to read it for a weight loss book. Okay. It is such a great self-love book. It really goes into you and how you feel. And yes, it does all the other stuff too, but it woke me up to it's okay. In fact, for years, I fought any type of spirituality or religion because it had hurt me so bad as a kid. That's the book that turned back on my acceptance and love for spirituality. And it wasn't just telling you not to eat.
Yeah.
Or telling you what to eat and not to eat. It didn't care. It cared more about your soul. And so I just absolutely love that book and think it's probably the other one that I have read multiple times, like Stephen Covey's. Like, let me read that again. I got rid of it because I thought I never needed it again. And then I went ahead and bought it just last month. It's just like, you know what? I think I want to do a book club where groups of people, we just go through it one chapter at a time, because at the end of every chapter, it has a little exercise to do. It's just cool. So one day I'm going to have a coaching weight loss. I'm going to call it self-love.
Self-love. Well, count me in. I'll sign up. That sounds like a lovely book club and club in general. I would love to be a part of that. Absolutely.
Okay. I got you down. I got my first guest and I didn't even know.
There you go.
It's on audio also, but it's a little bit tough because the exercises in the end are easier to follow if you have it in print. So it's also another one that I definitely did both.
Awesome.
I'm looking at our time, and I think we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Lara Jane Coaching. You know you're ready to silence your inner bully voice. Let Lara Jane support you with coaching. To schedule an introduction call, go to larajanelayton.com.
Talking with you has brought something up to my mind, and it's the happiness part. And I've always said my mission in life is to love unconditionally to create natural happiness. And that's for everybody. Love everybody unconditionally so that they can be naturally happy. And someone asked me once, what's naturally happy? So I'm going to explain that to you and see what you think. So we can get water at our house. Let's be on a homestead from a pump. And we can go out there and we can prime it and we can pump it and we can get water, right? That's happiness. Yes, the water is happiness. I want to be the artesian well. I don't want to have to wait until I'm thirsty to go do all this energy to bring the water to me. I just want to always there, always bubbling up. And yes, it can just bubble up on its side. Anytime I'm thirsty, it's there. Anytime that I'm feeling sad or down, my happiness is there and I can just partake. So natural happiness to me is the artesian well of happiness. So looking at your sauce and looking at how you just jump right in, how do you feel like you have that natural, I need a drink, done. I don't have to go do all this effort.
How do I?
Yeah. Do you feel like you've gotten to that point where you're just naturally happy now?
Wow. What a question. I think, I don't know. I would say yes most of the time. And I think.
Hey, you can walk away. That doesn't mean that you're always happy. That just means that it's there when you need it.
Yes, you're right. I like what you said. I can walk away and I'm okay being a little thirsty once in a while and allowing myself to just feel thirsty, unsatisfied at that moment, but being aware that I can always tap into that happiness, to tap into that well. I feel like, yeah, I have that down.
With your book, Getting Lost in the Sauce, and I'm sure that you talk a lot about happiness, but I think you and I talked briefly on this, is in the corporate world, you are fighting with so many people. And when I say fight, that is not like literal. That meant competing to be seen or to be noticed so that you can get the promotion too. And so our listener is a corporate person who is trying and spending so much time proving themselves at work. That how can this book help them be comfortable with who they are and not have to drive so hard?
I don't know if that book will be able to help on the corporate side, but I do believe that on the spiritual side, it will. And I do believe you bring yourself wherever you go, whether it's corporate world or spiritual world. It doesn't matter. I think you still bring your spirituality with you. There are just sometimes where you really expose your spirituality or spiritual belief, and other times where you hide it, right? And I feel like in the corporate world, we hide a little bit of that because we are accustomed to having this idea that we have to put this facade on because we're in the professional world. We have to be a cookie cutter professional, right? And when you actually allow yourself to get lost in the sauce, and when you can allow yourself to step into being your true self and realizing that you are that colored pencil in the row of all the black and white, and being okay that you are the only one that's going to stand out as this colorful, beautiful being in the row of black and whiteness, then you're also giving yourself the permission to just be who you are, embracing who you are, and then being able to speak your truth at that moment. And not like freaking out and like saying, hey, I'm going to cuss you out and I'm going to tell you where to go. Because there have been many times in my corporate world where I'm like, I'm this close. I'm very close to just telling this person off. But if you can just do it coming from a place of love, right? Like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Or, hey, like just embracing yourself from a place of love and stepping into that place of confidence and love at the same time. I actually feel like you're going to bring in more color into this gray world of the corporate industry or the corporate world that we have. Unfortunately, it's so gray and so black, and it's just gray. It's dark. Doesn't have color. Like, bring yourself out. Bring the color. We need more color in the corporate world.
I think it's funny because you said you don't think it would help, but everything you said will help. Once you identify who you are and you embrace it, you're authentic. And people want to be around you. People want you on your team. People want to work with you. And so I think that it for sure is going to help anybody that's struggling in the corporate world.
Thank you, Laura Jane. I appreciate that.
So I think we're close to time. Is there any last wisdom that you would like to bring up?
I'll just share, like, key word here is allow yourself to just get lost in the sauce. Allow yourself to just get lost in your own thoughts, but like make sure that those thoughts are not negative. And when I say get lost in the sauce, I'm actually saying get lost in the sauce of your desire. Follow that desire, follow that intuitive feeling that just like continuously creeping in. Allow yourself to explore that and see where it takes you. That's what I'd love to share with the wisdom that I'd love to share with you.
I love it. Get lost in the beauty. Because chicken nuggets are boring without the sauce, right?
Yeah.
Let's add the sauce to our lives and let's follow it and love it.
It's
Listener,
delicious.
Yes, be delicious.
Be delicious.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you. I'm sure this book is going to help a lot of people. And the link to the books, Aya's bio and how to contact her is all in the show notes. Go there. And also is our medical disclaimer. Aya and I are not medical professionals. We're not mental professionals. We have had life-changing events that we want to share with you. So stay tuned for the next episode. Talk to you soon.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.